There's no bigger dream than a Lamborghini on a beach. Imagine you worked your entire life to have your Lamborghini dream. 16-hour workdays, all sorts of sacrifices, and you made that dream come true. Then one morning you woke up at 2 in the morning and 4 guys wearing masks show up at your house. This is not a fantasy. This is real life. And you are not going to believe the ending of this story. I have a massive show for you today. Happy Friday, everyone. Let's go. All right, let's get into the show. And just for reference, this is a common thing in Canada. Well, at least the 4 masked men is common. The reaction from the owner, well, that one's new. Let's go.
One homeowner is facing multiple charges for firing a gun to prevent his vehicle from being stolen. At around 4 a.m. yesterday, York police say 4 suspects were attempting to steal a vehicle on Pine Heights Drive. That's near Pine Valley and Teston Road. A 35-year-old man fired a shot during the attempt. He was located by police and arrested. Today, we're learning that he's now facing 4 firearm-related charges. All 4 suspects were also arrested and
check out right there. That's a white Lamborghini.
Charged. One of them was on parole at the time of the incident. CB24's crime analyst Steve Ryan.
One was out on parole at the time of the incident.
And joins us live with more on these developments. Before we talk about the homeowner, let's talk about these 4 individuals who have now been arrested. And you got some information, and probably no surprise to a lot of people. A few of them were already out on bail.
Yeah, so we have a young person who was on bail, according to York Police, and is currently facing some very serious charges outside of these ones. And one of the 4 accused that was arrested, adults, was on probation as well. So it just goes to show you again that we've got repeat offenders alleged to have committed other criminal offenses. The guy that fired the shot, and it appears to be a warning shot that was discharged in the air, he's charged with discharging a firearm, possession of a weapon, dangerous to the public, careless storage of a firearm, and unauthorized possession. Certainly suggests that he was not a legal gun owner at the time of this occurrence.
How do you think that those charges against the homeowner are going to play out in court? Could this individual potentially be looking at serving some time behind bars? Or do you think that, some of the judges and JPs out there might look at this situation and see what's been happening in our community, maybe appreciate where his head was at firing a warning shot, but still, these are very serious charges against this homeowner? Yeah,
I'd suggest that the charges that this guy is facing with regards to the weapons, they are more serious than the attempted thefts and break-and-enter charges because it is a weapon. So I would anticipate that if this goes to court, that the guy that fired the weapon, and given the fact that he was charged with the unauthorized possession, most likely not a legal gun owner, that's going to be an uphill battle. That could be even more serious than the charges against this group of 5.
He's probably.
I'm not defending what the guy did. You're not allowed to discharge firearms in this country, but you know what? There's so much crime, and he's trying to defend his Lamborghini he must have worked his entire life for. Still not defending the guy, but can you imagine the person that did the warning shot to save his vehicle is going to be in a worse position and get criminally charged at a higher level than the 4 masked men that showed up at 2 in the morning to steal his vehicle? Welcome to Canada.
I'll need a good lawyer, I would assume.
I'd suggest, yeah.
Also, just kind of circling back to the topic of the revolving door of repeat offenders. Once again, we can add this to the list of countless stories that you and I have talked about. The question is whether or not, the powers that be and, the federal government is looking at what's happening and whether or not we could potentially see any kind of adjustments or amendments to bail reform.
Well, we can only hope, that's for sure. But what this illustrates, and I'm certainly not condoning the behavior of the guy that fired the shot in the air, but as you and I have talked about before, many people have had enough with regards to the violent crimes being committed in their communities, and this could be as a result of that incident.
Have you had enough? Well, the United States have a solution for this. This is what they're doing in the state of Florida. You can't compare it to what's happening here in Canada.
We'll see how it.
As to the person, we don't know which homeowner shot at him. I guess they think that they did something wrong, which they did not. If somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. So whoever that was, you're not in trouble. Come see us. We have a gun safety class we put on every other Saturday. And if you take that, you'll shoot a lot better, and hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the way that they deal with it in Florida compared to Canada? I'm not agreeing with what they do in Florida, but it is a stark difference. It would be nice if in Canada, if these people wearing these masks and they have multiple and they're out on bail, that they wouldn't be out on bail committing all of these things. That is the problem here, is there's zero consequences for these people. And the owner is facing more severe consequences than the people that were trying to do what they were trying to do. And our next top story, deodorant. Luckily, this is the 72-hour deodorant, so you only have to apply it once every 3 days because they are charging $10.29 for Dove 72-hour deodorant. You know, now that the pieces of steak, 3 pieces of steak are over $100, maybe it's time that we all start eating deodorant. Welcome to Canada. Brace yourself for this next story. Jeez, if you thought our public safety minister was a joke, or our immigration minister completely disgraceful, doesn't know any of the numbers, now meet the president of the Treasury Board. I have an honest question. Is there one Liberal MP that is not completely useless? Let's go.
Member.
Main estimates include the money spent on personnel in the federal government. Are taxpayers getting 40% more out of the federal public service than they were in 2015?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Chair, we are here to talk about main estimates, and we have 486 million.
Honourable Member.
Apparently, the minister isn't here to talk about anything, Chair, but I'll try again. In 2024, the Public Service Commission annual report said there was a 3% increase in the federal public service. The Canadian population grew by 1.8% in 2024. Does the minister think it's normal and justifiable that the federal public service is outpacing population growth?
Honourable Minister.
Mr. Chair, can I ask my colleague to repeat the question, please? Thanks.
Member.
I will not allow the minister to be a demagogue when we have such limited time. So he heard the question. If he'd like to answer it on my next one, he's fully able to. What benchmarks does the federal government use to ensure that the public service is delivering value to taxpayers?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This new government is focused on spending less so that Canadians can save more. That's why we have committed to reducing the cost of government operation over the next 3 years. We will achieve.
Member.
The minister either didn't listen to the question or didn't care about it, but these are important questions that deserve answers, and it's shameful that the minister responsible for the federal public service has no interest in talking about whether that service is operating effectively. The federal public service has grown by 40% in the last 10 years. Are Canadians getting their money's worth?
Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. My honourable colleagues talks about increase in public service, but doesn't talk about increase in a population. We have a public service is there to serve Canadian, to deliver those priorities to Canadian, and
I thank the minister for giving me something to work with here. Does the minister think that population growth and the growth in the public service should be the same?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. To ensure transparency and accountability, all proposed spending and actual expenditures are reported to both Parliament and the public.
The main estimates show $62.7 billion in spending on personnel. That's an increase over last year of $3.5 billion. Are Canadian taxpayers getting more from the federal public service this year?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. Canadian elected this government to deliver the priorities important to Canadians. to build Canada strong, to build one economy.
The honourable member.
The minister doesn't know the main estimates. I'll ask a question he does know. Since becoming the Treasury Board president, how many briefings has he received?
Honourable minister.
Thank you, Chair. I was appointed about a month ago, and I have received many briefings pretty much every day.
Elapsed. The member for Chatham.
All right, Canada. I'm sorry, but the incompetence. It's so clear. He's reading Mark Carney's talking points. One economy, this, that. He has no idea what he's doing. How could we find the most incompetent people in this country and have them run in these positions, especially given that our economy is at the worst place it's been? In the last 10 years, we've had 0.5% economic growth. We need change in this country, and it's not going to happen with this type of nonsense. Next, the House of Commons is close to finalizing Bill C-202. I just want people to know what this is. It's to protect the farmers across Canada. The US and Donald Trump are going to be furious about this one. I don't know if you recall, but he's always come up and said 300% on cheese, 400% on milk. And yeah, Donald Trump wants US farmers to have access in Canada. Right now, it's not allowed. And with this bill, it's going to be absolutely out of the question. So maybe it's good for the Canadian farmers, but for us Canadians that go to the store, it increases the price because it's like a cartel for this type of, dairy farmers, because US is not allowed inside Canada. Also, US could retaliate hard on this and provide all sorts of additional tariffs because we're not allowing the access to our markets. So this is something to pay attention to. And ultimately, Canadians are going to have to pay the price. And our next top story is Kurt Lubanoff is reported, and this is huge, breaking. Canada and India is finalizing a deal to cooperate on intelligence sharing. And I can't say any of these words on YouTube, but you could read them. This is a huge step forwards. It will help Canada tackle these following problems right here. And this is why this group is freaking out right now. I reported yesterday on the Jagmeet Singh thing. And so this is starting to make things make sense. And hopefully this is the start of making things safer in Canada. It is a good start. And if you see the highlighted part here, yeah, that group, well, it looks like there's going to be a deal happening and hopefully things become safer. And today is June 13th, and there is zero part of this country that is above the temperature of 16 degrees Celsius. All across the country, the warmest temperature is 16 degrees in St. John's, Newfoundland, but the rest of the country, we're almost just above 10 degrees Celsius. Environment Canada is going to have to update their lava chart. This is their forecast for this year's summer. If Albertans choose to leave Canada, should the federal government allow separation to happen? 56% said no. Who are these people? They don't have a choice. If Alberta decides to leave, the federal government should not have any say in any of that. And you're not going to believe this. Mark Carney has banned Rebel News from attending the G7. If you're part of CBC, oh yeah, you're there. You follow the narrative. But Mark Carney does not want to answer any tough questions from any alternative media. Welcome to Canada. Brace yourself, Canada. Elizabeth May felt it was more important to be at a blessing, to bless, get this, to bless solar panels at a church than show up to work in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to present my first of member statements in this new parliament. And I begin, of course, by thanking the people of Saanich Gulf Islands for returning me to parliament to work on their behalf. I wanted to highlight an event that happened this week, which is why I'm participating remotely. My home parish, as some of you may know, I'm a practicing Anglican and try to follow the path of Jesus Christ in my work. Practicing Anglican and a parishioner at a little parish called St. Andrew's Church in Sydney, British Columbia. This week, on Wednesday, June 11th, we had the great honor of our bishop, the Right Reverend Anna Greenwood Lee, coming to St. Andrews to go up, believe it or not, in a cherry picker, in a bucket, to the roof of the church hall to bless the solar panels. We had prepared and we worshiped together with a liturgy for the blessing of solar panels. Together, those panels will save our parish $3,000 a year to go to work to help the homeless and those who need support. Thank you.
Oh, God. You know what? That parish, that priest needs to come to the House of Commons and please bless all of Canada. Bless us all. Forget the solar panels. This country needs to be blessed. I have an update on this news that I provided a few days ago. You're not going to believe this. So this article came out and said Mark Carney's working on a deal with the United States where the United States will get a guaranteed right of first refusal for Canadian resources. Get this. This article is gone. It's vanished. It has been deleted from the internet. The only reason we still have this headline is because the internet, you can't delete everything. We screenshotted this, so it does exist. I'm going to report on what happens with this, but it is amazing and alarming to find out that it is gone. That's it for today's report. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. I look forward. I'm going to make videos, don't worry, but I want you to have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on the next report.